It's nice to see you all here. Some people I haven't seen in a while, and some people that are new to us. Last week I was talking from The Hidden Wholeness by Parker Palmer, and he is an educator and also a Quaker. And he has written this book, The Hidden Wholeness, The Journey Toward an Undivided Life, welcoming the soul and weaving community into a wounded world. So his idea, and I certainly embrace it, everything he says, is that we were born into this world with perfect soul. And then life happens, and we become separated and divided from it for various reasons. And the soul is shy and needs to be gently coaxed back into our awareness. And he talks about how to re-engage our soul, and he offers several suggestions. The first is to notice and acknowledge that we are separated from our awareness of it. Of course, we can never become separated from our soul, but we certainly can become separated from our awareness of it. And just being aware of that separation is a really powerful way to start becoming aware and making connection once more with our soul. And the second way is to live from the creative place of the namaste. The God in me acknowledges the God in you. And when I acknowledge the God in me, then I can become more gentle with myself and with other people, allowing them to know that they have that sense of spirit, that sense of soul within them, and I recognize that. So then today what I want to talk about is what Parker Palmer talks about, circles of trust. And these have evolved from his Quaker background of being with people in a quiet, still way. And they're a way of being alone together. I don't know, have you, I'm sure most of you have experienced meditating in a group. And that's what's so lovely about our Sunday morning meditation, is that when we sit together in a group, there is a deeper power and a deeper connection to that acknowledgement of the divine. The divine is always there, and I don't ever want to be misunderstood about that. But our awareness of it often is not keen. We go through life and live our secular lives. I talked about last week how, and to reference BC's comment about the drinks that were served, I owned a nightclub, and that was so out of integrity for me when I really started thinking about it. And so coming to a place that we acknowledge that beingness in our human being, and acknowledge when we are perhaps off center, off balance with our divinity. So he talks about being alone together, and there are several guidelines that he wants to acknowledge for creating safe circles, because, as he said, and I'll mention it again, the soul is shy. But I want to talk with you about a story that he shared. This fellow named Tim, and Tim was a shop teacher for 30 years. And he had been coming to the circles of quiet for 6 or 8 retreats. And he absolutely did not participate. He said nothing for 6 or 8 retreats. And he even sat and looked smug and critical and condescending. He said nothing. And that was allowed. That's an important point to mention. So for the 9th retreat, Tim came and he was changed. And this is the story that he shared. For years and years, his principal had wanted him to go to summer classes about high-tech shop and teaching kids the high-tech methods of being in shop. And for years, he resisted. He was belligerent and arrogant. Apparently he had tenure. And he refused to go to the workshops on high-tech shop teaching. And this year, he met with his principal and he said to the principal, you know, I want you to know I'm not going to the shop high-tech classes. But, he said, I've been meeting with these people year after year who talk about soul. And I've just finally come to the place that I understand that possibly I have a soul. And he said to his principal, you know, I'm going to get my tissue out right now.
I knew it.
So I said to the principal, you know, I just came to the place that I acknowledge that there's a possibility that I have a soul. And what I realized from that place is the reason I resist going to these classes about high-tech shop techniques of how to teach kids. He said, I fear, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I have been teaching wrong all of these years. And if I go to those classes, I will discover that. And I'm afraid. Because that will disvalue all of the years of my teaching. And he and the principal sat there in silence, looking at their shoes. And finally the principal said, I'm afraid too. Let's go together. So Tim was able to come back to the healing circle and do the work that needed to be done to connect with his soul, to allow him to know that his life is valuable, no matter what. And that's the truth for each one of us. Now, Parker Palmer has some guidelines about how to hold these sacred circles, these circles of trust that he calls them. But I want to mention to you that for all of the years that Tim had gone to those retreats, no one evaded him and no one invaded him. Let me say that again. No one invaded him and no one evaded him. In the sanctity of the circles of peace. Hello, sir. Good morning. In the sanctity of the circles of peace, he was allowed. He wasn't demeaned for not sharing. He wasn't cajoled into sharing. He was allowed. And Parker Palmer, and I think this is really important for us to acknowledge, he says that so often people in churches feel invaded. You get that? We have a tendency to do that here. We have in this congregation sometimes, and I'll acknowledge myself, sometimes a tendency toward spiritual superiority. You recognize that? If you would, you should, I always, those kinds of things which are invasive. We all are on our own journey. Each one of us is traveling at the speed of our own soul. I have no right to criticize you or judge you or tell you how you should express your spirituality. Now, this congregation is not the only one, and I think really, legitimately, I think we do a pretty good job. But why do we do that? We do it to bolster and build up our own sense of correctness. If I'm in fear, I am going to separate myself from those things that I fear. And Tim was so courageous when he said, I'm afraid. And his principal could have said, oh, you can't be that way, you shouldn't be that way. But in a circle of trust, which can be two people, he was acknowledged. That's powerful stuff. So here are some of the other things that Parker Palmer suggests as far as creating sacred circles of trust. First of all, by setting clear limits. What is acceptable in a conversation of the soul? The first thing is no fixing. No fixing. If someone is willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I'm feeling afraid, or whatever, in these circles, in conversation, it is out of integrity for me to try to fix what's wrong with you, or fix what you need to be thinking, or fix what you need to be doing. That's all about me. Has nothing to do with you. The second thing is no saving. And this is an important tool for saving. Often in our classes and our groups, somebody will start crying and another person's gonna jump up and hand them a tissue. Gonna save them from their very own tears. That's saying that the person with the with the tissue, is uncomfortable with the feelings, wants to shut off the emotions that are behind the tears. So they're going to save the sharing person stopping it, by handing them a tissue, by fixing them. So those are two principles of creating a safe circle. No advising. Fixing and advising are very close to the same thing. What you should do. Well, I know this guy who will. So, no fixing, no saving, no advising, and no setting someone straight. Now, there were a lot of opportunities for people over the year to set Tim straight. How dare you come here and not participate? You should participate. You should not be so condescending. You should not be so judgmental. You should not be so smug. You know all of those things. So to create a safe circle, a circle of trust, be it 2 people, be it 40 people, there are those principles. No fixing, no saving, no, what else did I say? No advising, no setting anyone straight. And then there should be, in a larger group, a leadership that will make sure that those principles are followed. And once more, just to say that all circles are invitational. If you do not want to participate in a sacred circle, you don't have to. If you want to get up and wander out, that's fine. They're invitational. You do not have to share unless you choose to. Nobody's going to coerce you into sharing unless you're willing to. And what happens in these moments of communication on the deepest level is that the soul does come out. The soul feels safe. One thing I really love about our congregation and our belief system, our philosophy as a whole, is that we do not ask the common questions. We do not ask, what do you do? Are you married? Blah, 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 blah. In these congregations of spiritual living, we ask the important things. What does your soul say? How are you feeling about your life? That's a sacred circle. That's creating a circle of trust. You are never your job. You're never your relationship standards or your relationship, I forget what I want to say. They're not your relationships, that's what I'm trying to say. You are your soul. And your soul is wise beyond measure and has messages to give, messages to share. So, as you're in conversation with anybody, one-on-one, remember how it is to listen on a deep, soulful level. And I promise you, your life will change. You cannot go through life from the point of your soul and not live richer and deeper and more meaningfully. There's something I want to share with you here. Next week is Valentine's Day. And I find this poem apropos to that. We all, no, I won't say that. We often are looking for love in the wrong places. I know. It's not out there. It's in here. And I had just a whiff of that yesterday. I'm a big sister for big brothers, big sisters. And I let my little sister off. And as she went in the door, she waved at me. And I just had this rush of love. It was so powerful. And I realized that's always my choice. Love is my decision. It's my choice to make. And it's not from out there. And I don't know about you, but I can't tell the difference often between love and gratitude. And so when I keep my gratitude journal, I conjure up this feeling of love, and it's my decision. So I want to share this poem. It's by Derek Walcott. It's called Love After Love. I'm going to read it twice, just so you'll know. As soon as I get the tears out of my eyes. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all of your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take the love letters from the bookshelf, the photography, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. Isn't that delicious? I'm going to read it again. So remembering that it's love after love. So apparently Derek had a breakup. And he wrote this. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you've ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. So, as we approach the holiday of love, I encourage you to be your own Valentine. Feast on your life. And I can say sincerely, I love each one of you. Namaste. Namaste. I'd invite the minister and the practitioners to stand with me and hold the consciousness as we hold this community in love. I just allow myself to take this moment to allow my soul to come out and shine. As I allow my soul to feel safe to feel loved, honored, and protected. I take this moment to acknowledge that my soul is the soul of the divine. It came into this world in perfection. There is nothing that I must do, no action that I must take to deserve love. From that place of my soul, I spread love like confetti, like sparkles of the sky in the dark of night. There is an endless supply of love that may flow easily and effortlessly from and through my heart. It is my decision. I allow myself to acknowledge that love is the healing essence and the healing element of all things. Anything that I judge is wrong, out of kilter, out of balance, is just a place where I have shut love out. Shut it off. I now, at this moment, easily and effortlessly open the faucet and allow love to pour through all circumstances, situations, to pour into every area of my life. Cleansing, soothing, healing, balancing. I allow my being of my human being to shine forth, to be the clear light of the world. And so at this moment, I offer up to the altar of the divine anything that needs love and light, knowing that it is done. And so with great gratitude, great joy, absolute conviction, and celebration, I just turn it over, knowing that the action of the whole universe is at work on my behalf. And so gratefully I accept it, I acknowledge it, I claim it. And I invite you to do the same.